All right, welcome back to Good Vibes. I'm Martin Falls. This is Debbie Cox DeNova, and she is a transformation coach. And today, what a subject we have for today.
Yes.
I don't even know how to get into it. So this is going to be, and in the control room as we were warming up for the show, I hear, this is an IFB, folks, and I hear, I can't wait for this show today. So I could hear them talking. So here we go.
We're talking about everybody's favorite
Sex
subject.
And the sexes, the
Sex
PG
and sex.
version, of course.
The PG version.
And we're trying to, what makes men and women different, and how do they get on the same page?
Yeah, and what obstacles do we have in this modern world to
Many.
having great sex, right? Why it's so important for all of us, and why the things that some of us are using in order to get our sexual pleasure satisfied is actually creating a bigger problem for us as men and women when it comes to connection. So when it comes to sex, both sides often want to know, like, what does the other side want? How do we make this better? All of those things. And some of this is a little bit of a crossover of what we talked about before between the differences in men and women. So just to recap from prior conversations, in general, in order for a woman to come into full arousal, she needs to feel safe. And when we talk about safe, we're talking about perceived safety from her perspective versus actual safety, right? We used the example before of the driving, right? When a man is driving crazy and the woman's is getting really nervous and he's like, have I ever gotten into an accident? I have a perfect driving record. But from her perspective on a biological level, if there is a lowering of safety, it actually brings up her testosterone, increases her stress, and therefore makes her less likely to be aroused in the bedroom.
So is it a control thing?
It's not a control thing so much as it's a safety thing.
Okay.
So biologically, we just need to feel safe. So if you ever notice a woman who's very much in her feminine will often let the man drive. And if he's a good driver, he's actually raising her estrogen levels. She's feeling safe and contained in that experience, and it's actually increasing the chances that she will later on be interested in having sex. Now, for a man is quite simpler, right? And he actually builds connection through, sexual attractiveness of sorts. And of course, we know that men are very visually stimulated. So a woman just needs to be a woman oftentimes,
right.
And he's ready to go. And so it's important for a woman to know that men actually do need sex in order to feel connected emotionally to their partners. And as women, we need to, especially in the modern world, it's a very big challenge because a lot of women are working. They're making their own money. They're all day long. Their testosterone is rising because when we solve problems and we're in high stress environments, it raises testosterone in women.
But that's a great point. Has that changed the way women look, or is it altered their steps to when they get home?
It does, because the problem for women is that we need to have that balance. We need to have an increase in, we need to have more estrogen than testosterone in order to be in the mood, right? So for a woman, especially a woman who's high-powered and working and on the go every day, she needs to have activities in her life that allow her to connect, to give and receive, to get into support systems in groups with other women, to be heard and seen in order to raise that estrogen so that she can feel aroused in the bedroom. A big problem that John Gray talks about, and it's sort of a double-edged sword because we're talking about vibrators and how a lot of women will be using vibrators in order to stimulate themselves. And while that's an empowerment tool in one way, it also creates more dopamine and more estrogen, more testosterone than actual sex does, which is a much more multidimensional experience. There's a hormone balance, there's energy field exchange, it takes time and all of that. It actually creates this higher level of all of these hormones. And then the body adapts to that, and then you need more arousal in order to get to that place. And it's sort of creates a dependency on the tools, the toys, and then it becomes dissatisfaction when you actually are just with a man. And the same thing with porn for men. There's a big problem, John Gray says, of men in their 20s actually having a hard time staying aroused or staying sexually interested in relationship, because when you're talking about porn, you're talking about fantasy. And so it drives testosterone up, but not estrogen, and estrogen is that connection, right?
So too much of that, in a bad way, takes away the reality of it when they have to perform.
It takes away the power. It takes away their ability to stay connected and aroused in just a regular relationship. It creates a dependency on pornography, which is a complete fantasy world, right? It removes that dynamic of connection and estrogen, and of course that men and women are made sort of like to play off of each other and to help each other in a way to meet each other's needs. And so when you take these things that are actually creating adaptations to higher levels of stimulation, you're actually interrupting that process, and you're creating all sorts of problems in relationship and in the bedroom.
And the more I'm listening to you, I thought this would be a very simple subject. It's no gray areas. There's a lot of gray.
There's a lot of gray, but it actually does come right back to the simplicity of connection between men and women. If we get back to the biology of it, what men can do, because men need to feel needed, they need to feel like a hero, they need to feel respected by a woman. This is something that women should know at home. All these things raise a man's testosterone. So when you give him opportunities to help you, you're not only lowering your own stress level, but you're increasing his testosterone and your own estrogen so that there's more connectivity when it comes to intimacy, which is something both parties want at the end of the day.
Yeah, so what we'll talk about in the next segment is everybody who's now watching is going, I just want him to listen to me.
Yeah.
And then the other side's going, I just want her to listen to me.
Exactly.
As we were going to the break,
Yes.
women want to be heard,
Yeah.
but men want to be heard.
Yes.
So what do? Flip a quarter?
Well, you both definitely should be in connection and listening, but it's important for men to know that when it comes to being heard and seen, that's actually a need that women have. Men want to be known for what they do, and by and large, and women want to be seen and accepted for who they are. And so that's why a lot of times women will come to this place where their estrogen and their oxytocin will come up after they've had a chance to vent or just talk things out in a space of a man listening. So while it may make a man glaze over sometimes to hear a woman talk like that, he needs to understand that this is an investment in the connectivity that he wants in the bedroom and otherwise, just by listening, by helping her out, by lowering her stress levels, knowing that again that women have 4 times as much stress at home, 2 times in the real world, and 4 times at home in this modern world. A man can really raise his own testosterone and meet her needs and be her hero of sorts by helping her, by listening, helping her out, noticing the little things, and investing these little quality times. Mark Gungor, who's a great comedian who talks about relationships, says, be nice to the girl. That sexual arousal that you get every 72 hours-ish is not your sign to just be like, come here, baby, but basically like to say, be nice to the girl, because when you're nice to her, it creates a natural inclination for her to want to give the man what he wants. And
Now, I'm listening intently. You just said 72 hours.
yeah.
Is that the norm?
That's the average. It can be more
Okay.
frequent than that. It's important to note that women are, according to John Gray, women are more sexually evolved than men. So men have huge challenges when it comes to this. First of all, not only is there hormones in our meat and pesticides in our food, which behave as xenoestrogens to the body, meaning external. The body basically treats them like external estrogen. And in the face of more estrogen in a man's body, testosterone lowers, and so does libido and sexual drive. Except not with pornography, right? Because when you're talking about pornography, you're talking about fantasy. It's driving testosterone up without the estrogen that connects you to these individuals that are not
So
connected
it's like
to you.
dynamite to the bedroom.
It is. So you create this increased addiction to porn.
Bad dynamite. Is what I'm
Bad
saying.
dynamite. You create this dependency on porn, and then it diminishes the relationship between actual, sex, which is the very best way for all of us to stay hormonally balanced as we age. Men need 300 times more testosterone. By the time they're 50 years old, they've got half as much. And while it's normal for men and women to sort of move into wholeness, women move more into their masculinity as they age. Men move more into their femininity with wisdom and all of that. If you don't balance it out, not only do you not have a greater sense of well-being, but you actually can die earlier from it. So it's really important that even as we age and we have less of a desire, that we make sure as men that you are doing something to raise your testosterone and keep it up and healthy. And for women, same thing with estrogen.
So how much communication should there may be doing because there might be a discrepancy.
Yeah, you know what? And to be honest, it's mostly women who are wanting that communication because again, it raises oxytocin.
And they
which
just
is so
want the
important.
men to listen.
They want the men to listen unless they
Don't solve the
ask.
problem.
Unless
Yeah.
they ask for
Yeah.
them to solve the problem. It's
Right.
really important that a man learn how to listen to a woman, and for women to understand that maybe in some arenas it's important to have girlfriends to talk to and to feel heard, because you can raise your estrogen with other people too. And in fact, John Gray says that you should be getting most of your fulfillment in 80% outside of the connection between you and your partner. So a lot of people are looking to their partner to solve all of those intimacy connections. Actually, a big part of it is that you go out there into the world, have your own connections and friendships, do your own thing, and then come back together. It enriches the 20% that we're
So for the
together.
men, socks are not just for the feet.
Right.
But you made a good point. If the woman says, I need some input, what do you think?
Yes.
Then it's time to jump in.
Then it's time to jump in.
But they're going to obviously give him a cue.
Yes,
Right? Okay.
yes. But but for women, you know, it's really important again because there's so many things that we can do well ourselves now. You know, but the more that you live your life in that masculine, the lower your estrogen gets. It's not a healthy way for women to be. It doesn't really feel good at the end of the day, and it creates this dynamic between you and the partner where he doesn't feel needed, he doesn't feel like the hero, he doesn't feel respected. It is a lose-lose situation. So there needs to, especially in these households where the women are working and the men are staying home, there needs to be an understanding of how to raise his testosterone. He might need to go off into his cave, you know, and replenish
Right.
his testosterone after being home with the children.
But if the woman has her own drill and her own screwdriver, sometimes she needs to put it down and just say, honey, can you come fix this for me?
Absolutely, absolutely. It raises the connection between the two. It helps you balance the hormones. And then also thinking about sex in terms of what actually is pleasurable. Being able to communicate in the bedroom, not perform according to pornographic standards,
Correct.
but what actually feels good. Women need to start learning how to communicate very directly about what they like and what they want, and have the bedroom become more of a place, a pleasure zone of no matter what it is, let's experiment to see what actually we like together as a couple. Communicate that directly and create a safe space where you can explore all of that.
And I think we agreed before this is going to be a 25-part series.
It can be, it really can.
All right, that'd be very interesting. Thank you.
You're
That was
welcome.
enlightening. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.